to hold on to. Pointing to the sky, we yell and swell against the rising of the sun. Increasing in depth, it's our final breath. Just to shout that we won. If we could die when we want to, then everyone that longs to make them all call immortality. Would say, what do we care? We got the rest of the weekend. It doesn't matter either way. If we could say when it's over, as we are getting older, to keep pace with reality. We'd say, what do we care if it's our final weekend? It doesn't matter either way. When we're cold on the outside, the hands on the dial become tight.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? My name is John Bear, along with our co-host, That Matt85, and we are here with episode 6 of the Bear Side of the Mat, and today we will be reviewing NXT Takeover in Your House, which aired this past Sunday, and it was I enjoyed myself. I don't know about you, but we'll get into the review here in just a bit. But Matt, how you doing today?
Good. Haven't been doing much today. It's storming right now. My power's been flickering, so just saying if I go black, that's why. And good luck doing it on your own. But we'll see how long we hold out here.
I'm gonna look outside real quick.
Yeah, I heard St. Louis is supposed to be getting some storms too.
We don't have any rain, but it looks like it's gonna rain. So hopefully,
Well,
hopefully Mother Nature blesses us here today, and we can get this in.
I agree. Let's do it.
Absolutely. So Sunday night, we had NXT Takeover in Your House. I believe we had 6 matches on the card. And before we get into it, I wish I actually would have saved a picture of the set and the nostalgia of the show. But before we get into any of the matches, we had the old school NXT, or excuse me, not the NXT, but the old school In Your House set from whenever they had it starting in 1995 until they went until 1998. I thought that was really cool. And then we had Todd Pettengill doing the like I'm not even sure how to describe it. I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but he was just kind of hyping up the show and stuff. They actually got Todd Pettengill for it, which is amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like another Edge and Christian kind of thing where they find somebody obscure from way back when and have them find a part in the show.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
That and the smaller things just really made this a fun event to watch, regardless of what was actually happening inside the ring.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into the whole nostalgia thing, this is something I haven't seen WWE really do as far as nostalgia in at all, really. Whenever I started watching WWF as a kid, it was in 1997, so the houses were still a big thing then. So it's definitely something that I was glad to see they kind of went all in on that on the nostalgia factor for the show.
Yeah, I have to guess that because all of this kind of nostalgia stuff is happening in NXT only, that it's a Triple H thing, and Vince isn't paying enough attention. Because I was gonna say, if he really didn't like it, they probably wouldn't be doing it. But if he also liked it, they'd probably be doing it on the major shows. But it's just happening at NXT with when they had the War Games happening before. I'd like to see by a suggestion if they want to bring back World War III events. That'd be my suggestion.
You're a mark for the Battle Royals, so I
Yeah.
understand why you would want that back. If anything, like I was disappointed in WWE whenever they brought Starrcade back and they used it only as a house show. I wish they would use that as like an actual major pay-per-view, but it's another one of those things for WWE just to kind of, put their foot down on WCW and tell everybody, hey, we won this, not WCW. So, but
it's so far in the past and they're so intermingled now, it doesn't even seem that different to me.
yeah, if I had another show I'd love to see them go back to, would be Halloween Havoc. Get rid of Hell in a Cell, call it Halloween Havoc. Maybe you don't have to have it on Halloween, but at least if you're gonna have an October pay-per-view, might as well take the name.
That would be my number 2 for sure.
All right, so let's get into the show. First match on the card was the 6-woman tag match. If I could actually get to where I want to, there we go.
While you're looking that up, before we start the first match, I wanted to talk about the opening song they did. It seemed a little weird to me.
I forgot about that.
The kind of the screaming metal, heavy metal isn't normally my thing. And it's not really here either. I mean, I didn't hate it or anything, but I just thought it was kind of weird where they're going so in on the 90s and then they have this super heavy screaming metal that seemed more of kind of like a 2000s kind of thing.
A little bit. I'm still kind of torn on the performance. Whenever I logged in at work just to see if to just see how the show was going and stuff like that, to see what it looked like essentially. If my boss is listening to me, I'm sorry, but yeah, I did that.
You were on break, right? You're on break.
But I turned it on when the band was playing, and the creepiest thing ever was when their bass player or their guitar player or whatever, the dude without the shirt, like shows up behind that one lady making like the weird flex like Brock Lesnar face. I'm just like, what in the hell am I watching? I didn't have the audio on either.
That's 100% what I thought when I was watching that too. I didn't know if it was something that they do or if he didn't know which camera was on or what exactly. It's kind of like in the NBA when they photobomb each other.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, enough about the live rock performance. I actually like whenever they do have a live rock performance. It's kind of cool that they do that. But this one was kind of weird. So first match on the show was the 6-woman tag match. It is team babyface is Shotzi Blackheart, Mia Yim, and Tegan Knox against team heel of Raquel Gonzalez, Candice LeRae, and Dakota Kai. I think this was a good choice to start the show. Good action. A little bit shorter than what I thought it was going to be.
I agree with all those for sure. What I liked about the match especially was Gonzalez was shown off a lot in this match with her power, her strength, and not just even being strong like Nia Jax being strong and punching people out. She was performing moves that looked well, very athletic, very in control of herself. Still, any of the girls that she was up against, she was able to pick them up, do what she wanted with them. Also thought Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai had a lot of good chemistry together when they were in the ring at the same time, which it makes sense.
Yeah,
but
Dakota and Tegan have been feuding now for, gosh, if it's been almost a year now. It's been about 7 months.
It reminds me of like Owens and
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Yes, they just have such good chemistry, especially because they're friends, that they can put on great matches. There isn't that little bit of lag of I don't know if he's there or not. They know exactly where they are, what they're doing, how they're thinking, and that above anything else, I think puts together a good match. Of course, they were just a small part of it, though.
What do you think of Shotzi Blackheart?
Man, I mean, she's gonna have to grow on me because the personality is kind of annoying, and how they're going all in with like, "Hey, remember Tank Girl? This is like Tank Girl."
I've never seen Tank Girl, to be honest, so
the reason why I know Tank Girl that much, my family used to own a video store, and Tank Girl, for some reason, is one of the movies I remember more. Just very colorful and outgoing and super hyper. She represents that as she's coming to the ring and everything. It's just it's so over the top that it's annoying to me. And then when she's in the ring, it's not exactly the same thing either. I think she has time to grow, though. She has a character, and if she makes it hers, then she can transfer it into the ring, and she can transfer it into promos, and she can make it her thing. That's definitely possible.
She has one of those gimmicks to me to where it feels like it fits perfectly on an NXT or an AEW, where it feels like the crowd's kind of in on it. Then if you transfer it to Raw or SmackDown, some of the people who don't really watch NXT and stuff, they'll see this person and just be like, what am I supposed to think? I like the gimmick. I think it's goofy, but I've always been a fan of these kind of goofy gimmicks.
That's a good point, though, with the crowd not being there yet. If she had more crowd to get behind her, that might grow, not just in terms of what other fans think, but her herself being able to feed off that feedback.
Yeah. So I didn't really take very many notes of this match. It was good, solid action all the way through. I've started to become a really big fan of Tegan Knox, especially as a babyface. She just has it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just she's naturally likable. She's got good skill in the ring, really athletic. It helps that the she and Dakota Kai do have really good chemistry because we've seen some really good matches between the two, despite this feud going on for a really long time. But good stuff from everybody. One thing I want to point out is that Mia Yim and Candice LeRae both left the ringside area towards the end of the match. They were fighting each other to the back and did not return. They did return somewhere else later in the night. We'll talk about that. But once we get to that point, I kind of want to imagine what they were doing between that time. But
Yeah, so going over the match myself, I thought that there were some good things. There wasn't many bad things, but there wasn't too many good things either. It was, like you said, just solid action. It is definitely good to start up the pay-per-view this way. I thought the main point of the match was making Raquel Gonzalez look strong, which she does. She catches Shotzi Blackheart off a tope.
yeah, she did.
Goes for a slam. That's something you see a lot for men, to where it's a stronger man catching a more of a cruiserweight. So you don't notice it at first, but then I was like, women don't usually do that because they don't normally have as big of a strength advantage over each other. But in this case, I thought that was pretty impressive.
I almost completely forgot about that, but you're right. It did lead. I was gonna start. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It did lead to a spot I did not like from Tegan Knox. It was one of those things where just like one person did a dive and another person did a dive and another person did a dive, which I don't mind, but it felt like Tegan Knox was like climbing up to the top turnbuckle to do the final dive. And she hit a good one. She hit like, I think she did like a front flip, landed on her back on everybody, and that looked good. But it felt like she was like positioning that way too far in advance, like she was kind of waiting for her time, and she wasn't really selling anything. You could just kind of see her in the background, just like, I'm gonna climb up here, but I'm waiting for all the action to happen first, which I didn't like necessarily, but it's more of a nitpick.
That's that thing where timing is a big issue. And if you can't get the timing down well, then the cameras are a big issue. If they're out of camera, then you don't really notice it. Unless you're live, then you do. But in this case, nobody was live. So I also saw a really nice to end the match, a tag team sliced bread that looked really cool.
Yeah, that was good.
They had to take out Raquel Gonzalez, like team up to take her out because she was dominating so well, which they did, and that allowed them to get the match or to get the pin. I thought the actual lining up the shiniest wizard on whoever was at Knox. She was already basically down, and she took it, and then was a easy pin. I thought it could have been a little bit more exciting, like if they actually would have pinned Raquel, but I guess they want to keep her strong, so they're not keeping her pinned, which makes sense. I don't think the results mattered too much in this match. Of course, you want the baby faces to win because they're the faces. It didn't. Everybody kind of did what they're supposed to. Looked good. Overall, for me, I gave it a 2 out of 5, just slightly below average, just because it was a bit lackluster for me. There wasn't too many high spots. Like I said, there wasn't much bad happening either. It just kind of this is what it's supposed to be, though. It's at the beginning of the show. You're not supposed to come out with a 5-star match and make everybody else behind you look bad. So no complaints. Just 2 out of 5 is my rating for it.
I was a little bit kinder. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Good action. I think everyone did look good. Baby faces get the win, so we get a good start to the show. I thought it was good. In fact, I would have liked, considering how short the show was. This show is a little bit less than about 2.5 hours. I mean, we could have gotten 5 more minutes of this, but overall, I thought it was good. There were some things I was impressed with, so good start to the show. At least in my opinion. You thought it was not as good as me, but
A little like it was close to three or average for me, but I felt like it was too much of just wrestling happening and not enough um, big spots or story, I guess.
yeah,
Well, like the story happened, it was just really fast. I think the main point of the story was building up Raquel, and I think that was accomplished, but that wasn't the only thing that was happening. That was just happening at times, and then, like you said, we had the two go off and fight each other in the back, uh, and just stuff happening again.
yeah. And not only that, this match was put on the card at the very last minute. I believe this was added to the Takeover card on Wednesday after the show, or at least during the show. So this one probably had the least amount of like actual build up, but in my opinion, it was pretty good for what it was. It's supposed to be just kind of a spot fest, and that's what we got. Next match on the card was Finn Balor against Damian Priest. But before that, I don't have an image of it. We got a throwback commercial for a like the ice cream sandwiches or whatever. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That was so weird. On this, I was wondering if like I got a like if I was watching the wrong stream because it seemed like it was so strange and different. It was seemed like it was like from a TV I mean, it seemed like it was from back in the day, but it seemed like it was from a TV broadcaster because they kept having like a British accent. I was like, am I picking up the British broadcast? What the
No,
heck?
that was apparently that was William Regal
I
doing
figured.
doing the following consideration is brought to you by the following. Whereas
Yeah, exactly.
I believe back in the day it used to be Lord Alfred Hayes, but I'm not 100%
Oh,
sure. So anyway, so we also got another ice cream sandwich thing later on in the show too, between another couple matches. So for this one, so we get Finn Balor against Damian Priest. I'm not the biggest Damian Priest fan. I feel like he had kind of a following as Punishment Martinez, coming from the Indies. I believe he worked mainly in Ring of Honor. Finn Balor, I mean, we know Finn. Finn's been around WWE now for almost 6 years, which is unbelievable to think about. What'd you think about this one?
it's funny that you mentioned the build up too, and I don't want to sound like I'm stealing this from somebody because I swear it's an original thought, just a shared thought. Damian Priest to me seems like a slightly, and I mean slightly better Baron Corbin. Uh, and just I mean with his build, with his move set, with his skills on the mic, and that irks me a bit. I mean, again, Corbin's our whipping boy, so obviously I'm not a big fan, but I always get that vibe whenever I see him, and my first thought is just and then he is definitely better than Corbin, so that's good. The weird thing about this matchup, I thought, was that it wasn't built up enough. There was a build up for it, but not only was it like a one episode build up, it also was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Um, I felt like the weird thing too was that they're pushing Priest like he's a big player, a top star, um, but they've also been not having him win very much.
That's true. I've
And
noticed this as well.
they're having him go up against Balor, who is obviously a hot veteran right now, who's just kind of kicking ass. And I don't know if like was this the purpose of this, and I guess I should get more into this after we say the results. But I was wondering, is the purpose of this more to build up Balor or just to have a match, or why didn't they build it up more? Because it's a big star versus somebody that they want to be a big star. So I was just a little confused by it. But as we get into the actual match, I like that Finn Balor. He's had a lot more aggressive attitude since he's come back to NXT, and that's how he starts out the match here with not waiting for the bell and attacking Priest, who I think Balor is supposed to be more of a face and Priest is supposed to be more of a heel. I guess they're both kind of towards the middle of those lines, though.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of weird. It feels like Balor.
Balor's like a mean face,
Yeah,
and Priest is like a weak heel.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't call it weak, but
I don't
maybe.
mean like his strength is weak. I mean like his dedication or aggression or meanness is weak.
Well, the best thing the wow, my voice just cracked. But the the best way I've heard this described was that this feud was a little bit undercooked, which I can kind of see. To me, this feels like it's a stopgap feud for Finn Balor, as he is probably on his way to face Walter for the UK title. So I don't know if they had plans for this or if they're planning on going for the big NXT UK. I think, or are they going to Dublin? Was supposed to be the next show. I want to
I
say,
believe so.
yeah, it was supposed to be Dublin before the pandemic happened. So now Balor's just kind of, they had to try to find something for him to do, and then I think Priest was probably, I don't know if he was a heel that made sense, but he's a heel, and you want to try to get a little bit of heat on him, so they did. As far as Balor goes, though, he's been kind of tweenerish for a while, but he's been wrestling against good guys. Like his two matches on takeovers in the last couple takeovers have been against Matt Riddle, who's a super face, and against Johnny Gargano, who at the time was the super face, and then he turned heel after the show. But
Sorry, got distracted by big lightning bolts. So again, if I go out here, just continue without me.
but
Sorry.
at this point, it feels like Balor is kind of a he's more on the babyface spectrum than he is on the heel spectrum. But that could easily change. And the way that Finn presents himself, he plays that tweener role very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. Was definitely not a complaint. It's just a wondering to myself kind of thing. And in this match, I got nothing but good comments here. Really, I like the use of the stairs. They used it a couple of different times, and both times it was very creative. I think you might be talking about the bump at the end.
Yeah, that was a wild one. That was a big bump from I almost called him Punishment Martinez, and I just did it there. But that was a big bump there
Damian Priest.
from Damian Priest. I was a little bit surprised to see that one. Just the thought of him hitting the stairs. You know what? A lot of people say wrestling's fake. You can't fake that, man. That's a flat back bump right on those stairs. Oh, that could not have felt comfortable.
Yeah, he didn't hit it completely square either. It was all was it all lower body, I think.
Yeah, that was a nasty bump. I thought
Yeah,
I thought the match was
kudos.
I thought the match was really good. I don't think that Damian Priest has the most interesting offense, but Balor had some good comebacks. They had some good chemistry, and I didn't really buy Priest winning this match at all. That was really the main problem I had with it.
They 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 had sorry, something I noticed about the match, and it was about halfway in, and it continued all the way through. Was that nobody really got too much momentum? They were hitting a Pierce would hit a few moves, then Balor would get up and he'd hit a few moves, and back and forth and back and forth. And I
Yeah.
kind of appreciate that. Normally, there's a regular formula where somebody's losing, makes the comeback, and they vary that up a little bit. But this was a little more unusual, where it was just back and forth, back and forth. Uh, yeah, I noted that Balor is rather aggressive, especially for being a baby face.
You know what? And
Something else that was
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just something else that I caught. I both times that I watched this. I don't know if you caught it at all, and I definitely don't think it's a big deal. I just kind of thought it was a little weird where uh, Balor was being choked out with a whatever move Damian Priest had in, and Beth Phoenix screams out that he can't breathe comment, which
I have to
first
watch
thing
it
that
again.
pops into my first thing that pops into my head, of course, with all of the protests that are going on is that's kind of a rallying chant for that, which I have no idea if that was on purpose or not.
I, I,
Which
I have no idea. I didn't. I'll have to watch this again to see if I can catch that.
I just thought it was a really weird little thing.
No,
Uh,
I don't blame you. Those words carry a lot more meaning than what they used to in the context of a wrestling match now, unfortunately. But we'll
yeah,
we'll leave
that's
that.
true.
But it's definitely I didn't catch that, but I'll have to watch it again to see if I do.
Uh, and then the other comment I had was that it was like I said, it was very back and forth. I don't think there was too many super high spots. I liked Damian Priest hit a flatliner, is what they called it. I thought that looked really, really cool, just as a move, but how it came in the match. And unfortunately, I don't think it led to the pin or anything. It just
No.
gave Priest the momentum back again. Besides that, I thought because it was back and forth and they had to, instead of just no selling each other, there was a lot of hit a few moves, recover from it, take the time to recover from it, hit a few moves, take the time to recover from it, back and forth, back and forth. I I felt it kept it from really getting a lot of high spots or high moments. But my final grade for it would be a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it. It's close to 4 out of 5, but I feel like it wasn't enough to top it.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close to where our grades are. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. Again, going into it, I just never bought that that Priest would win this match. I think that was a big thing going into it that kind of hurt it, in my opinion. And I don't think they did a lot to make me really believe that he could. Like, there wasn't very many pinfall attempts to where I'm just like, oh, I bet on that. And they went with the surprise, they went with the surprise winner. But it was a good showing from both guys. Finn is as reliable as you can get. If you don't have a good match with Finn Balor, then you might be a lost cause. And Damian Priest had a pretty good match here with Finn Balor. It was rather short too, which going back from the previous takeover for NXT Portland, a lot of the matches on that card were really, really, really long. And not every match has to be that long. This match told its story in about less than 15 minutes. It got out of there, and they did a great job with it.
I agree with all that. Not much to add, just I agree with all that.
Finn Balor, I believe, is probably, once again, probably going to move on to Walter at some point for the NXT UK title. Whenever that's going to happen, that's going to be amazing. I'm not sure what's next for Damian Priest, but we'll probably find that out tonight on NXT.
Yeah, they're wanting to obviously, like you said, with this short bout, they were wanting to keep Damian Priest in the spotlight, but they weren't setting anything up. So, like you said, hopefully we'll find out tonight.
So I believe in between these two matches, we saw another nostalgia promo for Ico Pro with Adam Cole, which was pretty good. And I think he did the Bret Hart Ico Pro commercial from the mid to early 90s, and he did it like word for word, including using like the Canadian accent by saying boat instead of about. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, again, I saw this and I was like, I was confused. Like, is this happening or is this just me?
All right. So next match on the card is for the North American title. Welcome, Nats fan. How you doing, man? You forgot about You can't forget about Takeover, but that's what we're here for.
Yes, go back and watch it for sure.
Next match on the card was Keith Lee defending the North American Championship against Johnny Gargano. We get some more nostalgia. I actually thought this was really well done. Although I don't watch The Mandalorian, so I didn't really get into Johnny's attire for the show, but that's neither here nor there. So the video package ends with Johnny like sitting in his house, and it's like cutting to like live footage, and he gets up from his kitchen table, and he's getting up and he's walking towards the front door, and like he kisses like a photo of Doc Hendricks on the wall, which was amazing. I thought that was great. If we weren't actually going to get Michael Hayes, there was a report out there that Triple H wanted Michael Hayes to cut off his ponytail, and he just wouldn't do it. That's Michael Hayes' ponytail. If he doesn't want to willingly cut it off, then he's not going to. But I thought that was pretty cool. And Johnny entered the NXT the performance center from the front of the house on the entrance set, which was pretty neat. Although there was a bit of a logic issue later on in the match, which I kind of want to talk about, and what was actually like one of my favorite highlights of the show.
Yes, and after leaving the house, he locked it up and put the key right in a safe spot.
Yes. So here's
the front of his speedo.
So here's the logic that I have. Two things. One, the referee's in the ring. At least I believe the referee is in the ring. If not, they can watch on a monitor in the back and realize, hey, this is a title match. You have a foreign object in your tights. You need to get it out of there. So no one did that, which I thought was just like, why didn't anyone stop him from bringing his house keys to the ring? And then two, again, this was a highlight of the show for me, but also there's a bit of a logic error to me where Keith Lee is beating the crap out of Johnny Gargano early on in the match. Gargano escapes the ring and starts walking up the little ramp that they have, and he goes up to the house and he's wanting to open up the doors and go into the house to escape Lee, but he can't do it and the door's locked. And we get like the surveillance camera footage of like the camera that's on the outside of the house, and it catches Keith Lee just walking up behind him, which was totally hilarious. But why did Johnny not use the keys from his pants to unlock the door?
I liked all of that. Just like you said, I was wondering why he wasn't using the key. Also, those little Nest doorbell cameras didn't exist in the 90s, so that's another thing. But it was, I'm willing to overlook that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good mix of the nostalgia and then you add in like the new technology kind of thing. But I thought that was really funny though.
I did not realize that Gargano's gear was about the Mandalorian. I'm still trying to think in my head how it connected. I'll have to look at it again. I had noted that it looked a lot like Daniel Bryan's normal ring attire, the thick leather trunks that are red and black with the knee-high boots with knee pads. So
yeah.
That's the vibe I got. I also noticed the second time I watched that Keith Lee was wearing Black Lives Matter on the back of his trunks, which I thought was really cool.
On the back of his trunks, he also had it on the back of his vest that he wore out to ring. The commentators did not make any note on it, but it was definitely noticed. It was noticed by a lot of people on Twitter as well, so good eyes on both of us for catching that. Keith Lee, I think on the last takeover, wore a shirt to the ring, or at least he carried a shirt of his old basketball coach too. So Keith Lee definitely adds in a lot of stuff like that. So Keith Lee's a good guy, man.
I forgot about this, but going back to Johnny not being able to get in the door, it's also just a wall. It's literally just a wall. Like you can walk around it to get inside.
That's true.
That was another thought I had. That's most of my notes I made for this are just how goofy it is.
So what I thought was interesting about this match, in my opinion, this match turned out to be very, very good. Johnny is incredibly talented. He's one of my favorite wrestlers working right now. Keith Lee, incredibly talented too. But you have a situation where Keith Lee is the babyface and Johnny Gargano is the heel, and Keith Lee outweighs him by like 120 pounds. Like Keith Lee is like just completely dwarfs Johnny. So in my opinion, it has to be really tough for those guys to make this kind of match believable, where Johnny has to get some kind of heat on Keith Lee, and they were able to do that very, very well. Keith Lee sold really well. A lot of work with the hands on Keith Lee, and it ended up costing Keith Lee a couple times. So I thought they did an excellent job with that.
Yeah, I thought that the match was done in a realistic way for their different sizes, where Gargano had to get in a bunch of smaller hits on a row to kind of take Lee down for a little bit. And then when Lee would catch his momentum, it would just take one shot to take Gargano down. And again, with Gargano being the heel in this match, he had was able to use a lot of underhanded tactics, a lot
Yes.
of I guess unwritten rules were broken in him being able to manipulate the joints, use his key, keep going after the eye. Uh, I think that was crafted really well. Uh, I thought the big spot of Keith Lee sending Johnny Gargano through the plexiglass was an awesome part of this match.
That was
Uh,
that was really good. They're never going to be able to replicate the Adam Cole pounce into the crowd, but they did a pretty good job of trying it with the plexiglass one. I thought that was pretty good.
yeah, I always liked those kind of moves, even if it wasn't just a shoulder tackle like that. But sometimes people would gorilla press somebody and just let them drop to their own doom onto the mat. When you can really just throw people around like that, it looks really spectacular.
What's going on,
I
Corey?
also
How you
think
doing? And
yes,
Buster?
and with Lee, I think he does a good job of countering stuff. Gargano was launching himself for a through the rope spear, and Lee just karate chops him into the ground. It looked really painful. It was really cool. Very good timing. He also had a moment where Gargano was kind of just taunting himself, touting himself, taunting, walking around. Lee just reaches up and grabs his arm and doesn't let go. That was another just good, good choreographed moment. I thought the pacing was really, really slow, and I kind of feel like it needed to be. Because Gargano, even though he was getting in a lot of shots, he wasn't a face. He was a heel. He was trying to let it soak in that he's pushing the rules. But there was a lot of dead time of just Gargano walking around while Lee's on the ground.
A little bit.
That was my only kind of negative to the show. Also thought Keith Lee winning made sense. I didn't see Gargano needing to knock him off and continue being a heel with a belt. So I'm happy about the results too.
I picked Johnny Gargano to win this match, and usually the reason why I pick a guy like Gargano to win these kind of matches is that I usually think that whenever someone is getting into a new heel character role, I think the biggest thing that helps out that is them getting a big win off the bat. Although, really, now that you think about it, he got the win over Tommaso Ciampa in the final beat match a few months ago. So that probably was his big win. So he probably didn't need it as much here. But usually I go with the heel that, they get that big win to start off right away. And the reason why is to kind of justify that heel turn a little bit. But Keith Lee ended up walking away with the victory here in a hard-fought match. This was one of the longer, I believe this was the longest match on the card, actually.
I don't know for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. It felt really long to me.
I actually quite enjoyed this match again. I thought that both guys made it believable to where Johnny could, kind of chop down the big beast, and kind of. To me, it's really tough to do. It's like the reverse of the Vader Sting formula. Vader is the big man, Sting is the smaller guy, so Sting's got to fight from underneath. It was like David versus Goliath if David was a douchebag, and that's exactly what Johnny was. So I actually really, really enjoyed it and got into it by the end of it. And then we saw Mia Yim and Candice LeRae come out to fight even more. So I'm wondering if throughout that entire time they were just fighting in the backstage area and they just made their way back out to the main ring again.
I think that's what we're supposed to believe. But yeah, that's a long brawl.
That's like an hour long brawl in the back. We didn't see anything else of it, but I just thought that would be kind of funny. Yo, Buster, thank you for that follow.
I'm wondering, first of all, if that's the Buster I know, but I'm not sure if it is. He'll probably answer if it is. But anyways, I gave this 3 out of 5 for me. I liked a lot of the individual moments, but looking at it all together, I thought that I feel like it didn't need to be slowed down as much. It didn't need to drag out as much. That's just my personal feeling about it. But
Gotcha.
like you said, it was well put together. It was well thought out. A couple of really fun moments. And that if they could combine that with a more action or faster pace, I'd have really been into it.
I gave this a 4 out of 5, just like Corey there in the chat. It might not have been one of Johnny's best matches. It was a good match, and we saw a little different stuff from Keith Lee, not necessarily in terms of offense, but we've been used to seeing Keith Lee do a lot of insanely athletic things, which he was still able to do in this match. But we were also to see him play babyface and play a babyface in peril, which we don't see very often. Even those matches with Dijakovic, which are probably his most touted matches in NXT, it's a lot of Dijakovic does a big move, Lee does a big move, and then it's just kind of escalating from there. Whereas this one was a little bit more traditional in a sense, so you had to rely on Keith Lee making Johnny look good and selling it, and I think they did a really good job. I love these matches that work on the hands as far as psychology goes, because you don't see it very often. That's one of the reasons why I like Pete Dunne as much, and for the most part, WWE does a good job of making Pete Dunne be really unique and being the only guy who does that. Although in this one, in the lead up, Keith Lee had his hand injured, so I understand why Johnny resorted to some of the tactics that were similar to what Pete Dunne does. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I wasn't sure what to expect coming in with the heel and face dynamic, but they did a really, really good job with it, I thought.
Yeah, I think you liked it more than me, but that's to be expected. We don't always have the same opinions.
So the next match on the card, again, it's a cinematic match, and again, very polarizing opinions I see on the internet on this one. We've got Adam Cole defending the NXT Championship against the Velveteen Dream in a backlot brawl. Funny enough, if you watch the Wrestling Regret video on WrestleMania 12, he makes fun of Vince McMahon in that episode for every single time he says backlot brawl, instead of pronouncing it like brawl, he says, "We're watching the backlot brawl," and doesn't say the L at the end of it. So anytime I think of backlot brawl, I keep thinking of the backlot brawl, because Vince has a weird way of talking. Anyway, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to have either similar opinions or very far off opinions. Because I feel like I'm on one of the polar opposites, or polar sides of this.
Before you get into it, I will say I saw one person on Scott Keith's blog, I believe, give this match a -3 out of 5 stars.
Okay, so I'm not on the far reaches apparently. My scale doesn't even go that low, but there are things I liked about it. I liked them driving up in the huge cars. I thought the ref gave a cool intro where he said, like, I was told, I'm just here to count the inside, make sure you go at it, enjoy yourselves, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was cool. Going through the match here, most of my thoughts are going to be about weird stuff in the match. So, yeah, Adam Cole.
Adam Cole.
Adam Cole.
Michael Cole's son.
I don't see it. Adam Cole escapes pretty early into a car, which was weird. Did Adam Cole bring 2 cars? Because he drove up in the monster truck, but he escaped not to the monster truck, but into the smaller car, a little cheaper car. And Velveteen Dream starts beating on it with the bat. And the bat does surprisingly little damage to the car.
Yeah, you know what? I noticed that too. Like, it didn't even break the windows.
Yeah, I was expecting, like, maybe not the front window, but the side windows to be broken, and maybe that's just conditioning from seeing everybody else smashing windows, like, even with their fists. which they shouldn't do anymore.
No.
But
Goldberg proved that one to us a long time ago.
yes, I also thought it was funny that an Uber drives up. That was really weird. Like, I guess who actually ordered that Uber?
I actually thought that was funny, but it felt kind of out of place though.
I did think it was funny. I enjoy it, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I enjoyed it. Uh, they were as Cole was hiding inside some of the buildings. Um, the Dream came up and was looking in the buildings. A lot of the doors were locked. He comes up to a double door, and in the background, you could see, I don't know if it's a cameraman or a stuntman or if it was actually Adam Cole who was sitting there. Dream, of course, pretends like he can't see him, but the camera shows it. That happened earlier, too. I think it was in Balor versus Priest, right when they're starting the match, you see somebody in the background running across the lighted in your house sign.
I saw that too.
Just like, yeah.
I want to say that was a production guy that just like sped across, like, oh no, I forgot something. I need to get.
I think so too.
But the hard camera caught him. I thought that was pretty funny. I completely forgot about that until just now.
After I saw it a few times, I'm like, what is going on? But it isn't really a big deal. Just something I noticed. I noticed, gosh, and this is going to be my biggest complaint about this, is that it was super slow paced. Like even more so than the last match. They would hit one move, and both of them would be down for about a full minute, 2 minutes. They get back up, hit one move, and they both be down for another minute, 2 minute. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense either, because they shouldn't have been that tired out at that point anyways. They weren't taking a ton of damage, and if I mean, as long as you're dealing it out, you're not taking a lot. So it's not like somebody took a lot of damage, got up and threw in a punch and had to recover. It was just every time they did something, there was a huge recovery window.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Dream climbed up to the top of a ladder. He was going to probably do an elbow drop from the ladder onto Cole, who was on the top of a car at that point.
Yeah, he was on the hood of a car.
Yes, and the rest of Undisputed Era drives up with a car that apparently their headlights are in his eyes, even though he's like 6 feet above the ground, and the car is 2 feet above the ground. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I guess you need to stop him somehow. That being said, Cole actually going through the window of the car was pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if that was. I'm guessing that was a fake blood, but they actually made that look kind of cool though. I actually like that spot. That was probably the highlight of the match to me.
I was guessing it was fake blood too, and that was just because later on they show him and the blood's cleaned up and wiped away, and there isn't really any cuts or anything, just kind of red marks. Or maybe they cut and did actual work on him. I don't know, but
yeah,
that was definitely a high spot of the match. One of the high spots of the pay-per-view, even despite me not liking the rest of the match that much. I thought it was really cool, even if, again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that Dexter Lumis is just hanging out under the mat the entire show, I guess, or however long they set it up. But that kind of goes along with his character being just really, really creepy and weird.
Yeah, a little bit. There was a Mauro Ranallo made a reference to he compared Dexter Lumis to Dexter on the TV show, which I thought was a little bit too on the nose, but that's Mauro for you.
On the nose. I was confused for the longest time. I didn't realize what we were hearing was the audience in the Performance Center. I thought we were hearing the audience that were in the cars.
Yeah,
but
me
now
too.
I'm wondering if anybody was even supposed to be in the cars, because you don't really see anybody. But I kept hearing banging and banging, and I'm like, are they people banging on their cars? Because I don't see anybody outside of their cars. And I started wondering, like, are people pulling up in motorcycles? But nobody pull up, and then I'm like, oh, it's people in the Performance Center banging on the plexiglass.
Right.
So that had confused me for a long time. And as we got to the end of the match, I felt like either of these, either Dream or Cole could have won, and that'd have been fine. I don't feel like Cole needs to give up the title yet. I would have liked to see Dream win it, but I don't feel like he needs it either. Obviously, he's not going to fight Cole for the title again as long as Cole has it, because that was the stipulations of the match.
Yep.
But I'm always happy to see Dream do whatever he does. And I heard rumors. There's been a lot of rumors of everybody in NXT moving up, but
Yeah,
rumors
that's
that
true.
he might be moving up. So we'll see.
So, what did you rate the match?
I gave it a 2 out of 5. There was a couple of high spots. It was an interesting build up. It was interesting seeing who will win. But man, I was disappointed with how hyped I was for it, how good I thought it could have been.
Yeah. I was kind of on the same line as you. I gave this about 2.5 out of 5. I didn't mind the aesthetic, but there was just a lot of things going on in the match that I just it was either I didn't like or I didn't understand. Like I didn't understand why Velveteen Dream came out and was ripping off Negan from The Walking Dead. His baseball bat didn't even have barbed wire on it, so it's just like
Yes.
it's not even 100% rip off of it. Um, and I don't think there was any type of like reference to that leading up in the feud anyway. So whenever
That's true. It wasn't really a zombie match of any sort or held in the graveyard or anything. So I didn't. It's very true. It didn't really match with the setup of that at all.
and to me like the camera work, I mean, it was okay. I didn't mind that. Some of the in-ring stuff, it was just like it was nothing special. For one, this match was short. Like if you compare it to the other matches, the best ones I can remember as far as the cinematic matches go, the Boneyard match, the Money in the Bank match, the Stadium Stampede match in AEW, all these matches have actually been pretty long. They've all had a pretty good flow to it too. I think that's the big thing that helped out with all three of those matches in particular. The Firefly Funhouse match wasn't even a match, so we're not even going to include that. That was something completely untraditional. But all those seem to have a flow. This didn't really have any kind of flow to it. And I just felt like it was just something didn't click with these two for whatever reason. And it wasn't necessarily the work they put in was bad or anything, or the production was bad, because it wasn't. But we've seen some of these cinematic matches, and they've been incredibly over the top. Some of them have been goofy. Some of them hit for some people and some of them don't. But in my opinion, I feel like there could have been a lot more to do with this, and they just didn't do it. They didn't go all in with it. And I think that was the biggest downfall of the match to me, because we saw what AEW did. They went all in with Matt Hardy's character. They went all in with the bar stuff with Hangman Page. The Young Bucks doing silly stuff with the 100-yard Northern Light suplexes. The Boneyard match, we saw that honestly felt like an Undertaker style match. Like it felt like this is something from the Undertaker's mind, even though AJ is the one who called him out and said, "I'm facing you in a Boneyard match." But to me, this didn't feel like it matched either one of these guys at all. So I just didn't fully get invested in it like I should have. It wasn't bad. I wouldn't call it bad, but it was something I don't ever want to see again.
I think the big thing you hit on was flow. The flow just wasn't there in any way. I mean, even though I said that Gargano versus Lee was a slow match, it had flow,
Yes.
a constant flow. It was just a slow-paced match. This, like you said, there was just a lot of starts and stops and stuff that didn't make sense. And besides all that, was also really slow.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I think this match kind of disappointed both of us. Adam Cole ended up winning, so Velveteen Dream can no longer challenge for the NXT title as long as Adam Cole is champion. I think the most interesting thing to come about this is what is next for Adam Cole, because he's pretty much done everything in NXT at this point. So who's his next challenger going to be? And then what obviously is next for Velveteen Dream? Is he going to stay in NXT? Is he moving to the main roster? We'll see. We'll find out more tonight on NXT for sure.
Yeah, there was rumors that Cole might be moving up too, and that's just based on his contract's up. And if he resigns, he probably is going to want more money because he's been not carrying, but one of the people carrying the company for at least a year.
Yeah,
And if they pay him more, they're going to want to bring him up to the main roster. So,
absolutely.
uh, not with the title, I wouldn't think.
So our semi-main event is Tommaso Ciampa against Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross was making his NXT Takeover debut. This Karrion Kross also with Scarlett. Awesome entrance, like usual, that we see from Karrion Kross. It's been, a lot of people have been really big on the entrance. I am as well. I think it's pretty awesome. It fits the NXT brand perfectly. I'm only imagining it now with a crowd, a bigger crowd. This match was the shortest one on the card, and I like what they did with it. Even though this is one of those things to where I think you and I are probably not going to have a high star rating for it, but for a match like this, I don't think the star rating is really indicative of how strongly that Karrion Kross was booked. Because for him to win in a match that lasted less than 7 minutes against Tommaso Ciampa, who's been one of the warriors of NXT over the last few years, one of the stalwarts, one of the best performers, for him to get a win that quickly over him says a lot about Karrion Kross, and it tells us that he is a force to be reckoned with in NXT for a little while.
Yeah, I'm super surprised about the match basically being really fast. I mean, it really seemed like this was a enhancement match, talent enhancement match for Karrion Kross, except that Ciampa is not really that enhancement talent. He's one of the
No.
top tiers. So that I, as far as the match goes, I don't know if I liked it as much as you. I do like what they're doing with Cross though. This is a big push for a start.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
not just the win, but they made him look good. It wasn't even just come in, crush like a no-namer, and look strong. And it's not even just because it was Ciampa, but he was looking brutal. He has good facial feedback when he's hitting at moves. Um, he was doing really hard suplex, the hard type of suplexes, not the belly to back suplexes that where the other person jumps with it to make it look even more impactful. But he
Right,
was
right.
dead weight suplexes off of Ciampa, which makes him look really strong. Um, I'd have to say he wasn't completely smooth, and I don't know if that's on him or both of them or booking or what. But like for example, he had to hit a suplex and then tried to. It looked like he was going to get up to hit a second suplex, but instead, once he got up, he like backed up and then clotheslined Ciampa. It just looked really weird.
Hmm.
It still looked really brutal though. Like it still was going to hurt. It just didn't transition very well. Um, I'm more bothered by. I don't think they. I'm not saying like they shouldn't have done that to Ciampa. I just don't feel like that. Like I feel like he doesn't look that good right now. Maybe they'll have him in a decent feud after this, where he has a good feud and looks strong again, and it's just that Cross is a beast. But right now, to me, this makes Ciampa look pretty weak to me. So he'll have to earn it back. And that was that, and it was really, yeah. I was gonna say Cross takes a lot of like he was taking a lot of hits from Ciampa. They just didn't have any effect on him either, and then he just throws out a single blow, which is a bomb. So Cross looks really strong. Ciampa looks weak in this match. Hopefully they can carry on with both of them to enhance Cross and to get Ciampa back into his normal place. And as far as the match goes, I gave it 2 out of 5 for it being short and seemingly an enhancement match.
I understand what you mean by saying that that Ciampa looks kind of weak. I don't agree with that. I think Tommaso Ciampa is one of those guys who will be bulletproof for a long time. The dude had a legendary run with that NXT belt. In my opinion, for my money, he has been the best NXT champion, not only as far as just how entertaining he was, but the matches he had with the character work that he did as a heel. Unfortunately, he had to drop it in the worst way due to his injury. But in my opinion, just because of that run that he had since he turned heel in 2017, all the way up until his face run recently, in my opinion, Tommaso Ciampa has put himself in a position to where he could. I mean, maybe he shouldn't be losing to jobbers or anything like that, but he's going to be one of those guys who, to me, will always kind of carry that kind of credibility. So, and that's what, to me, what makes this match really effective. I thought Karrion Kross looked good. I thought the comeback was timed pretty well for Ciampa. So recently I've watched the Dark Knight trilogy, and I've actually told you about this. We've been messaging back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about my issues with the Dark Knight Rises and Bane's voice sounding like it's in a completely different area. But in that movie, so in the Dark Knight Rises, Batman is broken down. He's broken down before he decides that he's going to take on Bane face to face and fight him. And Bane absolutely destroys him, breaks his back, sends him to whatever that pit is. And then by the end of that movie, Batman, he's repaired, he's ready again to fight, and he now knows what to expect the next time he goes up against Bane. In my opinion, I heard some people say that Karrion Kross should go up against Adam Cole for the NXT title. I don't think they're going to do that because I don't think they're going to turn Karrion Kross into a babyface because his character does not feel like a babyface character at all. Adam Cole is never going to be a babyface. I don't care what anyone says. He's just too on TV. He's too scummy.
You mentioned that, but I was thinking back earlier today for some reason. The few times that Adam Cole was still part of was part of NXT, and this is before NXT was considered an equal brand.
Mm-hmm.
But he was one of the one or two NXT people that was on the Royal Rumble, and he'd come out and smiling and happy and running out there and doing what he would do if he was a face, and it seemed like he fit it because in real life he's a cool dude. I got to see him with Ring of Honor when he was in town. He was very, very, very cool. I mean, he was still a heel in Ring of Honor, but
yeah,
very, very nice dude. So I feel like it could be there, but at this point, as far as story-wise goes in WWE, he's too far on the dark side to make it back to the light side.
Right. So to get back onto this, I think we're going to see a return match between these two guys, and the story is going to be Tommaso Ciampa realizes what kind of task he has. So he has to go in with a different mindset. He's got to go in fully rested to go up against an absolute monster like Karrion Kross. This match felt in a lot of ways like a Brock Lesnar match, except it wasn't just suplex, F5, suplex, F5. You know, it wasn't that kind of boring kind of formula that we've seen from Brock Lesnar. In fact, we saw Ciampa get a couple 2 counts on Karrion Kross to make it seem like that he had some hope to win, but Kross kind of shrugged it off and he finished the match. I thought this was really, really effective, and it speaks a lot of Tommaso Ciampa for giving him that much and putting him over that strongly. So much respect to Tommaso Ciampa because a lot of people in his position wouldn't agree to it. If anything, he would have agreed to like, oh, let's do a 15-20 minute match where we're both look good for half of it and Kross escapes with the victory. No, Kross dominated him, and that's the biggest takeaway from the match, at least to me. And I thought it was really effective, and I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this, because I think we're going to see a return match for the takeover for SummerSlam weekend. I assume they're doing one, so at least I hope they're doing one.
What was the score you'd give it, though?
Oh, I give the match 2 out of 5, but the booking I thought was really, really strong. But I'm not gonna do a weird rating because of it. But it's a 2 out of 5 match, but it's a very deceptive 2 out of 5 match. It's a very effective one. So, in my opinion, I think they did It did its job.
Hopefully they do go on to, like the storyline you set up there. If they do that, that'd be really cool. That would make this match worth it.
Yeah. And then finally, we get to our main event of the evening, which was actually kind of interesting here. So not only was the women, not only did the women main event the show, they actually started the show, which to me is pretty cool. I don't think anyone really mentioned that they both started the show too, but this is the first time the women have main evented an NXT Takeover since 2015 when Bayley wrestled against Sasha in a 30-minute Iron. I call it the Iron Woman match. It's not an Iron Man match. There's two ladies with it. So first time in nearly 5 years. So that's pretty awesome. So as much as we think Charlotte, like the treatment of Charlotte on every single possible show, we're now living in times of instead of World Wrestling Entertainment. WWE now stands for WWC, World Wrestling Charlotte, as she dominates on every single show that she's on. But whenever she does have a match like in this is a really good match.
Yeah, you know what? We have been fed too much Charlotte Flair, I think, and that will probably be dialed back soon, especially considering that she just lost the NXT title. I do kind of wonder if she's going to stay with NXT or just abandon it now that she doesn't have it anymore, the title anymore. But like you said, also she's been doing good stuff. Even on Raw Monday, I thought she did a good job. But here we had Ripley versus Shirai versus Flair. Personally, I thought that this should have been just an Io Shirai versus Charlotte match, not really involving Ripley. I guess they wanted to have a 3-person match so that Charlotte wouldn't be pinned because she wasn't.
Yeah, that could be part of it.
I felt like Ripley was just kind of inserted. I didn't feel like she had I mean, I believe Charlotte broke up a match between them, but that wasn't too much heat really between all three of them, let alone any Ripley with either of them. Really, I thought most of the heat was Io versus Charlotte.
Well,
that's just me though.
I was gonna say Rhea is still looking for a return match after she lost the NXT title. She hadn't been on TV for a little bit, and then Io Shirai.
Yeah, I feel like
Io Shirai got her title shot, and Charlotte got herself disqualified, so she deserved another rematch. So that's why all three are in it instead of just a one-on-one match.
Yeah, it wasn't completely random. I just felt like maybe it just wasn't built the right way or something.
No, I feel you.
I like all three of them though, so I don't mind them being in the match.
I think you were happy with the result.
Oh, yes, and it surprised me too. I did not expect Io Shirai to win. I don't know what I expected, but I guess I really, if I had to guess, I probably would have guessed Charlotte Flair was going to retain. So having it surprise me and make me happy is definitely a very, very good ending. It probably boosted my score, maybe. If it's a little biased, it's no big deal. I'm allowed to be biased. But so we had a couple of... There's a lot of brawling and low spots back and forth, and then a couple of high spots. But I didn't feel like this match was slow. I felt like it was well paced, not too fast either. We had Ripley and Flair were having some moments where they were brawling, and it just seemed kind of awkward, like they got crossed up, where like slowly going down instead of being more smooth like you would expect it to be.
You know, I saw a couple people on Twitter say the same thing. Not exactly that, but it seemed like their chemistry was a little bit off.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's chemistry or if they got pissed at each other and were throwing some real body shots or something.
You never know. You never know.
I thought it was cool when Ripley and Shirai had a double KO on each other with Charlotte already on the ground.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty nice.
That was a cool moment. There was a lot of moves and resting, not a whole lot of momentum for everybody, but that made it seem more like an even match, which in a 3-person match, I feel like makes a lot more sense to me. I mean, Charlotte started off kind of dominating, but after that initial domination, it was really everybody was getting their moments.
Right.
Io got thrown through the window, which I didn't expect to be its own piece and just move backwards. I thought it was going to be thin, like cardboard or maybe just little thin dowels that would just crash. So
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting. The window got pushed back and then just swung back after she got through it. And when she was back there, I didn't know for a little while, but then I could start to see that she was going to be on top of the house, which very, very kudos. Not only is it a cool spot, it's a really cool way to use the set.
I thought so too.
Uh,
I thought that was pretty awesome.
and I think that led to her momentum carrying her through to the win of the match. So very good way to use that, use everything in it basically. There's also a moment too where Flair was going to do a spear and got kneed in the face by Io Shirai. I wonder if that was supposed to happen because it looked really painful.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
it looked
we
more like a spear.
yeah, we saw some other painful stuff from Io Shirai. Mainly the finish of the match. Somehow, Rhea Ripley's face did not just completely explode from Io Shirai hitting the moonsault, and she got all of Ripley's face like with her legs. That looked that looked pretty bad.
I was wondering with that if she was supposed to hit like right in the middle, get both of them, because she gets all of she gets all face and all Ripley, nothing of Flair,
Yeah,
and Flair just kind of breaks her figure eight and rolls off to the side.
yeah,
So I'm guessing she was supposed to land that in the middle, which I guess I don't blame her. Doing a blind backflip moonsault is not easy to pinpoint, you know?
yeah. I was gonna say I don't think it's very easy to go east west on something like that. I think that would be a little bit tougher to try to manipulate as far as manipulating your body in midair to try to aim that way. You can do it whenever you're looking in front of yourself, but if you're going one way, you can't just move your entire body and shift it the entire way. You can turn it one way. Like RVD did a really cool job of for example, like there was two people down in the ring and he got up on the top rope and you're wondering like, oh, who's he gonna frog splash? And he gets up in the air and he's like turns his body one way and hits one person, but if he turned it the other way, he would have hit the other person. So it's a little. I think it's probably a lot tougher to do whenever you're doing it like you're not facing that way.
So when she hits that and they start the count to see for the pin, the camera wasn't really on Flair either, so I thought that they're gonna have a double pin, and then what are they gonna do? They counted three and then Io's music hit and I'm like, oh yeah. So I was happy for Io. Happy they shot just an F ton of confetti all over her.
I don't know if it was confetti. I want to say it was actually streamers at the PC.
A lot of streamers too.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Performance Center crowd threw in, which was
I
which was
didn't
cool.
realize that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering because everybody was happy for her. Usually, as a heel, which she kind of been heel, especially with her look and her music. Normally, when a heel wins like that, everybody's not celebrating like that. So I'm wondering, are they going to turn her face? Are they going to keep her heel? What's going to happen?
Well, I think Io's been babyface for a while without anyone really telling us. Like she was a heel for a bit, but she was getting some good cheers for a while, and then she got hurt, and then she came back, and they really haven't changed up her character all that much. But she's been more babyface than anything else lately. But like I said, if she turned face, they did it without like really kind of giving us a clue in as to what made her turn face.
That's kind of true, but I mean that just happened instantly with Asuka. Granted,
Yeah.
it was more apparent, but it wasn't storyline. It wasn't worked on. It wasn't like your face. It was just
Yeah.
it was part of a special moment. Everybody liked it, and they jumped on that right away and carried on with it. So no complaint about that. I do like Evil Shirai, but as long as she keeps her looks and I love that entrance music. As long as they keep that, I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah,
I don't know if you get this too. I watch a lot of Japanese cinema and anime and manga and all that stuff. And like when she was being announced in the ring, she was giving the normal Japanese Yakuza death stares. which looks kind of weird. But if you know what it is, it's like the ultimate "I'm evil, I'm gonna cut you" kind of thing.
Nah, I can't say that well, if I did catch it, I don't know what the reference would have been. I will say that. You're a little
So
bit more well versed in that than I am.
yeah, the match was pretty fast moving. It had story going throughout it. It had lots of good high spots, and I really loved the finish. So I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. Not a perfect 5 out of 5, but very very good. Definitely a really good way to end the match.
I gave this
Or
a
sorry, the pay-per-view. Good way to end a pay-per-view.
yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 as well. Um, it's one of those things where I kind of want to watch it again. I saw somebody online say, now this person, if you looked at their like post history and stuff like that, they do not like Charlotte very much. So for them to say, they were saying stuff like Charlotte kind of sandbagged both of them throughout the entire match and kind of gave them a hard time. It's not something that I noticed watching it at first, but if I watch it again, maybe I'll kind of look out for it. But um, that's something just to kind of, kind of tack on at the end. But like I said, I gave this a 4 out of 5. Really good match. I think we're far beyond calling this a breakout performance from Io Shirai because she said a lot of breakout performances. So I don't think this would qualify anymore. But this was a really good job by her. I thought she was the standout of the match. Good job from Rhea Ripley too. I thought she looked really really well. I think all three actually looked pretty good. Maybe not the cleanest match I've ever seen, but sometimes I can still really enjoy a match even if there's a botch here or a botch there. It's not the end of the world for me. But yeah,
I agree with all of that.
yeah, really.
I also think that because I didn't talk about Ripley that much. I think she did a good job. I'm glad the title's off of Charlotte more than anything.
Yes.
I feel like Ripley was red hot not too long ago, and now she seems kind of weak. And
A
it
little
wouldn't be
bit.
that much of a problem if she wouldn't have lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania. The title could have been on her up until this point and then transferred to Io Shirai, and she would still look super strong. As it is, she lost to Charlotte, and she took the pin here as she was about to submit to Charlotte. So it's kind of pushing her down little by little, and hopefully they can build her right back up because she's a good talent.
I hope so too. Rhea Ripley also is very young. I believe she's 23. She might be even 22, which is insane. So hopefully they can do that. I agree with you as well. I don't know if you guys know my thoughts on this. I thought that Charlotte beating Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania was the match itself was really good. Charlotte winning at like that took me out of the show for like the next couple hours. I just thought that was just the wrong move. And I agree. I think this would have been more effective if Rhea Ripley was the champion going in. Io Shirai gets the win. So now you build up Io versus Rhea Ripley. Although at this point, then why would Charlotte be in this match? But still, but I hope the same thing happens, and I hope that we get somewhere to where we get Rhea Ripley against Io Shirai in a takeover match at some point here soon.
I would love to see that too. Ripley is the new Baszler, and Baszler did a great job for so long. I'd like to see Ripley not necessarily hold the title, but hold that badass moniker for a good amount of time while she's in NXT as well.
All right, so overall thoughts on the show. What would you give the I don't know if you give a letter grade or what you would give, but
Overall, out of 5, I give it 3 out of 5. And Ripley Shirai Flair kind of brought that up out of a 2 out of 5. I had a lot of expectations, and not that the show was bad, but they weren't met. My expectations weren't met for the most part.
I feel you.
In 3 out of 5 isn't a bad score for an NXT takeover. I guess it is a bad score because honestly, and we haven't been doing the show that long. There's been NXT takeovers that I would give the whole show a 5 out of 5.
Yes.
Absolute perfection, not only overall but each individual match. And I think part of it too, with some of these NXT matches, especially at a pay-per-view, they seem to be doing the thing that Raw and SmackDown does, where they're sucking the life out of people and they don't go out there and put on that huge match even at pay-per-views sometimes. And I think a lot of that is because the live crowd is gone. There's not that huge thing to feed off of.
Right.
And also a lot of talent is being sucked out of NXT at the moment too. Matt Riddle having a match, I'm sure, would have been great. Uh, if Baszler was still there having a match, that would have been great. And that's not to say that NXT still doesn't have talent. It's just the more you take the cream of the crop out of there, the lower the talent level is going to go. They just got to keep building it back up, and I believe they will. But at the moment, they are short a few people, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
They used
I agree with that too.
they used to only have like 3 or 4 matches maybe. And while I do enjoy having more good matches, once you start getting more and more and more matches, you start having again the talent being a little more diluted. So overall, 3 out of 5 for me, and hopefully that's not taking it too bad out of the disc. I did enjoy it. I watched it a second time, and enjoyed it a bit more the second time than I did the first time.
We've just been spoiled over the years, haven't we?
I believe
Takeover.
that's it.
I gave the show a B. Nothing really that bad. I think the worst thing on the show, maybe not star ratings wise, but I thought the worst thing on the show was the Cole versus Dream thing, which even then it was still kind of unique. But it still didn't land as much as I wanted it to. Where I think the best match on the card for me was Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano. It's right in line with the triple threat match to finish the show. Couple things I liked about the show overall. The big positives were the nostalgia. I thought was really, really good. We saw a couple other things with Todd Pettengill that we didn't go over, but those are really funny. Where he looked over to the side, he was about ready to give the 900 number. He's like, "What? We don't have a 900 number? No more 900 numbers? Oh, okay." And
The AOL chat too, and then
the
also
AOL chat,
Michael's 2-finger typing on the keyboard.
right? So the nostalgia stuff, really, really cool. I like that. And I do think that the NXT wrestlers being in the audience did add a little bit to it. I will say this, just because tribalism is alive and well in the wrestling community, AEW did it first by having their wrestlers be out in the crowd. So I will give them credit for doing that first. But WWE has also done a really good job adding the plexiglass. Now that I've seen it a couple times, I'm more used to it, and it does feel like it's a more welcoming show that way. And I think the crowd did a good job of kind of getting into it, and I think they made it a little bit more enjoyable, much like the AEW crowd with the wrestlers have made it really enjoyable to watch on TV. And I thought the wrestling itself was good. There was nothing, like I said, nothing bad, but nothing like match of the year worthy. But I mean, it was a good 2.5 hours of TV, right? So in my opinion, good show.
Yeah, you might have liked the. Well, yeah, you brought up a lot of points that I glossed over, especially the nostalgia. Just like you said, good show, a lot of fun.
And unfortunately, it's going to pale in comparison to the greatest wrestling match ever that we're going to see next week. But
we'll get that later.
Yeah.
Later next week. So besides that, it's because we've gone so long. We have a preview for tonight's NXT versus AEW, our Wednesday Night Wars. They're not directly competing with each other like on TV, but they're on TV at the same time.
Correct.
For NXT is announced 2 matches. I'm not sure what else is going to be happening. They have Adam Cole versus Dexter Lumis. I guess a little bit of a takeaway from the ending of their Cole's pay-per-view match.
I'm a little bit surprised they're going with that match so soon. I don't know.
I am too.
I don't know if they're going to build up Lumis as a title contender, but they're going with that match right away almost.
Man, I kind of feel like I'm wondering every single time Cole wrestles right after a pay-per-view, he's wearing bandages around his waist like he's so beat up. I wonder if they're going to do that again. If they do that, because this is a non-title match, they could have him lose, make Dexter Lumis build him up pretty well. But they had Lumis lose to Strong, which was really surprising to me. And if they have him lose again to Cole, it's just going to be kind of weird
A little bit.
because they still have him looking like the Terminator, basically unstoppable, except for in special occasions, I guess.
Right.
Uh, the other match that NXT is advertising is Finn Balor versus Grimes.
I feel like
I
we've seen
forget
that
Grimes'
match a few
first name.
times.
Well, they had the one match where Grimes won because of interference or whatever, and I
Oh,
guess
yeah, that's
Grimes
right.
taking it off because Grimes is Grimes is a talent that I don't like in the way that I just don't want to see him. Not that I enjoy disliking him. Uh, from his gimmick, from his personality, from his lack of in-ring ability, uh, and he's almost gotten to the point to where he's so unlikable that he's going to start becoming likable. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
Uh, Um, I'd say like I'm giving him one more chance. I don't
Gotcha.
really get his steampunk attire kind of gimmick. I don't get any of it. But that's what NXT's showing. AEW has advertised Best Friends with Orange Cassidy versus Hager, Santana, and Ortiz. That should be a pretty fun match.
Yeah, that should be pretty
Uh,
good.
Sammy Guevara versus Colt Cabana, which I guess they have a little bit of a build up. That should be fun. We got Hikaru Shida and Statlander versus Rose and Ford. It's kind of a throwaway match, but I like almost everybody in that, so hopefully it's fun. We have FTR, whatever that might stand for, versus Butcher and the Blade.
Stands
That's
for
kind of set up.
stands for a lot of things apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Uh, this is FTR's first match on AEW. Is that true?
Yes, it is. They made their debut last week. Pretty cool moment too. Or at least no, it was 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, it was 2 weeks ago. They had the interview, and then Butcher and the Blade interrupted it, and we're just like, "Why did you attack us 2 weeks like last week?" So we're gonna see the fallout from that.
This should be fun just to see what FTR is able to do when they're not under the thumb of WWE.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then finally, we have a return to commentary by Le Champion Chris Jericho. So that's going to add to every single match.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
My suggestion for tonight is AEW night. Maybe NXT. I mean, NXT looks fun too. I definitely want to see Cole versus Loomis, and I don't know what else they have planned, but NXT is not giving us a whole lot to go on, whereas AEW has several matches I want to see and Le Champion on the commentary.
And then there's also a TNT title match as well with
Oh, is there?
Cody defending against Mark Quinn
Oh,
of Private Party, which we don't see very much singles action from either one of those guys. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that goes.
I did forget. Yeah, I didn't see the advertised when I was looking earlier, but I did forget Cody is going to be accepting challenges for that every week. So thanks for adding that in.
Yes. To me, I think. Well, I'm going to be going over to my parents' house for a little bit, so I will not be watching either show live, which will be a first time in a little while that's going to happen for me. But if I had to choose, AEW does look good tonight, but I'm really curious where the NXT Fallout's gonna lead for a lot of the people on there. So I'm kind of a little bit more interested in that, but I'll be watching both shows for sure.
Yeah, I'll be watching both. If not flipping back and forth, then I'll be catching one right after the other.
All right, guys. So we are going to end the show there. Next week, next Wednesday, will be the greatest review ever for the greatest wrestling match ever. We're going to be reviewing WWE Backlash 2020, with the main event being Randy Orton versus Edge. Um, so yeah, we might think about doing a prediction show sometime during the week. I'm not sure, but we you got some other stuff to record too. So
I'm recording stuff all the time nowadays, but speaking of which, speaking of all that, pay attention to both of our Twitters, which you can see on the screen, John Bear Gaming and ThatMat85.
yes,
Stay tuned to our Twitches in case we put anything up here, and also YouTube. I, with my own personal projects with technology and the movie podcast I'm doing, put those up on YouTube. And anything that we have scheduled or anything that we're going to schedule will be showing up on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. So keep an eye out on both of our Twitters. We will make sure to let you guys know what is the what and when we'll be doing our shows. We're gonna find someone to rate here, and I think I found the right. Excuse me. I think I found the right guy.
Thanks for everybody that joined us. Thank you to Corey. I'm glad you'll be flipping back and forth. It's good to be with both companies, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, Corey, Game, and Seth, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. We're going to just go send everybody over to Kyle23 Gaming. It looks like he is 6-0 in Battle Royale, so go cheer him on. Let's get him to 12, guys. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time.